Under other business, there will be several. I know some people want to make some statements, so we will call on people under other business. There is a provision for the declaration of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, the next item of business is presentations. I'm wondering if John Pierce would come to the podium and deal with the presentation.
Okay, thank you. It's my honor to say a few words about my ward mate for the last 4 years, Murray Powell. Murray has been an integral part of County Council for more than a decade, serving all the people of the county. He will definitely be continued to be missed by council, staff, and many others that Murray interacted with over his many, many years of service to the community. As many did, I had the privilege of having Murray as Mr. Powell in that day as a high school teacher. He always had the knack to get the best out of everybody and teach you at the same time. You wouldn't even see it coming. When it was all done and over with, you'd look back on the situation, you go, yeah, he did it. He got the best out of me, and he taught me something along the way. Murray's teaching has never stopped. Fast forward to when I was first elected to council. Murray was my council mate. He continued to teach me as an adult. It took me a very long time to call him Murray, actually. It was Mr. Powell. And when I said Mr. Powell, he would say, John, it's Murray. Call me Murray. And I would say, I know that, but it's a respect thing. And respect is another one of Murray's many attributes that he had. He was well respected and respected everybody. As most of you know, Murray's a huge Buffalo Sabres fan. He stuck by the Sabres for many years of being cellar dwellers. And I know what that's like because I'm a Leaf fan. I know what it's like to cheer for the cellar dwellers. At any rate, for those that may have looked today, Buffalo Sabres are third overall in the NHL. Actually ahead of my Leafs, I must say that. So I think maybe Murray's having a little, pulling a few strings from above as he looks down on his team. Again, I just want to close by just saying that with the whole teaching part, Murray never stopped teaching, and I appreciate all the time that I had with him around this council table, as I'm sure many others around this table do as well. We have something to... If I could get the family to come up, or if you feel like coming up, or Heather, or the whole family. The County Council would like to present you with Murray's name tag and pen, as well as the county picture for 2014 to 2018. Thanks very much. Yeah, I don't need to be in this.
You're trying to get in.
Okay, get everybody get nice and close together. I know you're all friendly.
Let me turn it this way.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, John, for doing that presentation for us. I'm just wondering, are there any other members of County Council wish to say some fond words about Murray? John?
Thank you, Chambers. In our home in St. George, we have a plaque on the wall that Lois found a few years ago, words to live by. It says, always stay humble and kind. Murray Powell was the epitome of those words. Always humble, always kind. I exchanged a lot of words around this table, particularly with Councilors Gatward, Coleman, Simons, Hardy. Never with Murray Powell. Never. He was the epitome of always stay humble, kind. And he was. I know he's out there.
Councillor Gatward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The other day, things weren't going so great at my house. I'm getting a new living room floor, and everything was going wrong. But I came across Murray's last pages of humor, and I thought, he must be looking down, and it was fate that I found those, because I needed a laugh, and Murray gave me one. So thank you, Murray, because we all need those laughs from time to time.
I have Murray as a teacher, but I probably would have liked him, and because he gave you that feeling that, you know, he was always there to support you, as John said earlier and whatnot. But the thing that I'll never forget about Murray, and I read it in the paper after Murray's funeral and the eulogy, his clippings. He never missed giving me a clipping at every council meeting, committee meeting, or wherever it was going, and it was always involved with agriculture. So that man had lots. I take my hat off to him the amount of times that he cut clippings out for me and whatnot, so well appreciated. All my best to the family.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you. I'll be brief, but Councillor Pierce kind of had the same thought, some serious political lobbying upstairs, because it's not just the Buffalo Sabres, it's the Toronto Raptors are doing phenomenally well, and I know Murray enjoyed it, so I wish he was here to see it, but I will miss our sports talks.
Councillor Cardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I too, like John, had Murray as Mr. Powell as a teacher. I can remember Mr. Powell saying to me 7 years ago, Don, it's Murray. And I know for years I kept calling him Mr. Powell, but I'm sure if you look under the word gentleman in the dictionary, you'll truly see Murray Powell's face, because Murray was the epitome of what a gentleman is. And with that, I thank him for that.
Councillor Simons.
Murray will be missed by all.
Councillor Schmidt.
I didn't have Murray as a teacher either. My kids both did, and I know they quite enjoyed Murray as a teacher. I do, and I'm going to echo what's been said here, is the fact that I haven't worked with him for 4 years, and I really didn't have the opportunity to work with him for the last 4 months. But he was always somebody who was very calm and took his job very seriously, and also had the utmost respect for the people in his community and their best thing in his heart. So thank you to Murray.
And thank you, Council, to the family of Councillor Powell. I think you can see that the impact that he has made on this group and the impact that he has made on the town of Paris and the county of Brant, I think has been well said by everyone. And again, we certainly are going to miss him. And thank you for coming. Let's proceed then throughout the rest of the agenda. The minutes of the previous meetings, I believe that was on my desk, and I believe I moved them inadvertently, not knowing that I would be here. So I'm wondering if someone could pick that up. It's right here. I'm wondering if I could have a mover for the minutes, and it would be seconded by Councillor Pierce. Can you give that to John? Are there any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Carried. Minutes are adopted. There are no business arising from the minutes listed. Let's move on to the consent items. And there are a list of consent items to be received, and both B and C consent items to be received. Councillor Miller.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Coleman, that the consent items be received as information.
Would anyone like anything pulled for discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Consent items are approved. Committee reports. First committee report is the Canesville Community Center Advisory Committee report. Who has that? Councillor Coleman?
I do that, Mr. Chair. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Goward, that the Gainesville Community Center Advisory Committee report from October 30th, 2018 be moved.
Are there any questions? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on, the Community Services Committee report. Councillor Pierce.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chambers, that the Community Service report of November 5th be approved, noting there are 4 recommendations.
Are there any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Planning Advisory Committee report. Councillor Wheat.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Member. Simon's Planning Advisory Committee report on November 6th be approved, noting there are 3.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Corporate Development Committee report. Councillor Cardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Corporate Development Committee report for November 12th, 2018 be approved, and there are 9 items.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Public Works Committee. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the Public Works Committee report of November 13th, 2018 be approved, noting there are 9 items.
Are there any questions? All those in favor? Motion is carried. That concludes the committee reports, and now we have staff reports. First one with regard to the request to meet ministers. Heather, do you want to speak to that?
So the request to speak with ministers, there are the 3 conferences, ROMA, the Rural Ontario Municipal Association. That one's the first one of the year in January. Its deadline is going to be December the 10th, so we are going to be in really short order if we want to have any meetings with the ministers. There was one that just got approved a couple minutes ago to meet with the Minister of Infrastructure, but that's the only one that I have on my list right now to put in. So if someone wants to make a resolution, if there's anything else we want to add to that list, we probably need to do that in short order.
Okay, first, Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move somewhere along the line we could try to set up a meeting with the Minister of Transportation.
With regards to?
Bishop Gate, 403.
Councillor Miller.
Okay, that was one of the 2 I had. And the second one was the Minister of, I'll say, Energy regarding the hydroelectric station at the Paris Dam.
Anything else? Okay, then I think Brian, Councillor Coleman phrased that in form of a motion that we consider 2 delegations to the ministries, and I guess David would second that. Are there any questions? Okay, we can leave that. Well, all in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. So the clerk will deal with that, and the incoming council can, the incoming mayor and the rest of the council, we have a bit of time to reflect on that, but we'll assume that those delegations will be requested. And the second is, staff report is Cindy with regard to the tender for the construction of the new county OPP detachment.
Councillor Schmidt has it.
Councillor Schmidt.
It is moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Wheat, the COU 1837 awarded the tender, COR 18/01 for the construction of the new county Brant OPP detachment as written.
Are there any questions to that? It's been a long time, a long venture and a long walk to this point. Any questions, Councillor Gatward?
Just a comment. For those of you who aren't familiar with Malou Blamey Construction, they're the same firm that did the Y project in downtown Brantford, and they completed it under budget. So just wanted everyone to know that.
Okay, after hearing that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. And that concludes the staff reports. There are no information reports listed. There are no communications listed. Are there any questions? There are no resolutions listed. And now we get to other business, and I believe Shirley had an item that she wishes to bring forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the staff and councilors. I would like to extend my thanks to all the County of Brant staff for their time spent with me through my 12 years as Ward 2 councillor. They always have had the time to explain each situation that arose. It gives me pride and accomplishment to have been part of the many important decisions made to better the residents in this community. It has been a pleasure serving all my residents of Ward 2, and I thank them for supporting me through the years. Finally, I would like to thank this council for giving me the opportunity to help make a difference in the County of Brant. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all, and God bless.
Thank you, Shirley. I'm wondering if this is probably the time I think some people may wish to make comments at this time with regard to the, such as what Shirley said. And I'll start by saying, Shirley, it's, along with Don, I'll include Don with this as well. I know sometimes it's very difficult in municipal government when elections happen and people are chosen ahead of other people, and that certainly does not mean, it's not a reflection on what you've done in my mind anyway. And I have enjoyed serving with both Don and Shirley, and I know that they will be involved as we go forward, and hopefully we can see your faces and have your input on things as we go forward. I'm wondering if anybody else wishes to make comment. Councillor Wheat?
There is another item under other business. You probably don't have it. It's on the agenda.
I will get to that, John. Just anybody else wish to make comment? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll certainly start. And I would like to thank Councillor Schmidt for coming back. I appreciate that. I think we all do. And he's a class act. As far as Councillor Simons goes, I always thought I was a community booster. Fairly decent one until I met Councillor Simons, and I thought, my goodness, her middle name is Paris. I've never met quite anyone that has had the back of Paris for so long and gave it so much commitment. And I will tell you right now, she's been an inspiration to me. I think she should be an inspiration to all the way she's dedicated her life to her community. And I'm thoroughly impressed, and I'll tell you right now, Shirley, I will miss you terribly around this table. As far as Councillor Carty goes, him and I both lost our political virginity 8 years ago, a short 8 years ago, and there's one particular quality about Mr. Carty that I've always admired, and that's his willingness to take risks. And you know, he wasn't afraid to go out and start his own business. He wasn't afraid to try for the mayor's job, and you don't always, meet with what you hope for, but like I say, I really admire that quality, and I think that's a quality we kind of need around this table, because we tend to be a little bit conservative, for good reason, but I think it's just something we're going to maybe miss. And as far as the mayor goes, I do wish he was here tonight. There's a few things I'd like to tell him, but I will leave that for another day and when I go visit him. So, thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Gatward.
Well, just a short comment to Councillor Simons. Her and I have become good friends, and I'm going to miss her. And as the last woman standing, when I started on county council, there was 4 women. Now there's 1, and I'm not going to let my fellow colleagues and anyone on this council down. We should all work together as a team. And I was talking with Cheryl Anatoski today, earlier at a housing forum, and she is the only woman councillor on the city. And So she'll have to become my new go-to person, perhaps. But I don't think we've seen the last of Shirley Simons, because she's a dynamo. Anyway, thank you, Shirley, for all your hard work the last 12 years. And to you as well, Don.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask permission to speak for a few moments?
Actually, no. We'll get to that if we will. We better stick to the agenda, and then if we start deviating, we'll may never conclude. It's a difficult time when colleagues that we've worked with for 4 years and sometimes longer than that will be not moving forward. Is there anyone else on council who wishes to make comment? Councillor Wheat.
Well, can't let a moment pass without saying, and Steve, Don, always been fun no matter what. Even if we were getting beat 6-5 on a boat, you and I always enjoyed getting on rear ends with 6-5. Surely, you and I fought and argued for the last 12 years, but have never left this room. I've been asked not to say anything else. I had 4 or 5 paragraphs. Steve Schmidt, you've been a great board mate. I've been blessed by being on council. I started out with Helen Mulligan, and she was a great guiding light, and then along came Stevie Wonder, and we were 2 full terms. And then Will Bauma, and then Will bailed and went to Queen's Park. And Steve came back, and I've always enjoyed my time, whether it's here in the council chambers or at the Legion on a Saturday night, or Remembrance Day, or when I always enjoyed my time with Steve Schmidt. And I know your name's going to come up tomorrow night, Steve, and you'll be getting my vote. So thank you very much for stepping in, and always for being a great friend to me, basically the last 12 years. And the mayor, well, we go back a long time. Probably was Coleman, the junior farmer days. And I think of a couple guys named Jerry Jonker and Cora Jonker and John McCorkindale. And we ran junior farmer dances up at the old fairgrounds. And Eddie would never get there until 11 o'clock. But in the next 2 hours, he got 4 hours worth of dancing. And I can think of him as the Reeve in the township of South Dumfries when I was on the fire department. And after we'd have something serious, whether it was a car accident or a fire, you'd be guaranteed at the next meeting, Ron Eddy would show up for the beverage for the boys. And a thank you for what the boys did. And those were good times sitting in the back room of the fire hall. The only mayor I've ever served under, Ron Eddy. And I want to thank him. I hope he's watching, because I've said this to him before. At Good Roads, and the number of times I got to speak in a meeting with a minister while Ron Eddy sat there and let me do the talking on behalf of the county of Brant. And Robert will remember 2 trips to Ottawa with 6 Nations when Ron Eddy stayed back here and he let us do the talking. Emerson's here. Emerson will remember those trips to Ottawa when we met with federal ministers trying to resolve problems at 6 Nations. And Ron Eddy always designated me to do the talking on behalf of the county of Brant. And Ron, thank you for showing that confidence in me, letting this uneducated stiff do the speaking for the county of Brant. Thank you.
Councillor Cardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't going to say much or anything at all, but I wanted to say a few words. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to council for the last 8 years being on council. It's been a good ride. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. David, you're right. I do like taking chances. I didn't achieve the experiences and the positions I've had in the past without taking chances. Life is a chance, and you take chances in life. I'd like to thank Paul Emerson and Mr. Bradley and this council for taking a chance on this new health hub. I think it's something that we need to do. We're a growing community. We need that. When they had to move out of the hospital, putting that together was a great idea, and it's moving forward, and I thank everyone for that, for having the foresight of seeing down the road in the future. I've seen this council go from a part of being reactive to proactive, and I think it's good. Proactive is good coming in the new future that we have for this community. We're growing, as we all know. It's slowed down a little bit, I know now, in housing, but it continues to grow, and we have to keep mind of that and look into the future of where we're going to go and how we're going to do it and how it's going to be presented. So with that, I thank everyone. It's been, like I say, a true pleasure, a privilege, and honor to be on this council, and I wish you all nothing but the best. Go forward and be leaders. Thank you.
Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, there's been a lot said already about the ones that are leaving us after the night. To Don and Shirley and Steve and Maria earlier, you've been an honor to work with. I appreciate your input, whether it's from Public Works or whatever committees that you've served on with me and at this council. And I respect the way you voted, and I respect your integrity on the issues that have come before us. I'm going to miss you all. I'm going to miss somebody else that sits up there at the front the most. And he and I go back a long ways. And my father was in municipal politics back in the 50s. And one of the first persons he worked with was Ron Eddy when he was deputy clerk in Wentworth County. And for some reason, the friendship between our families have always been there. And then when I was able to hit the road and start having a good time at some dances and whatnot, Ron Eddy was right there with me, and we had a lot of great times. And like John says, I hope the hell you're watching this tonight, Eddie, but you're the only one I've ever bought a Liberal membership for in all my life. Probably never, ever will again. I wished I framed it. But anyhow, it's been a pleasure, Ron. I know I talked to you this morning, and I wish you could be here tonight for this and whatnot, but all the best to everybody. And it's been a real honor, so thank you.
Anybody else? I'll just conclude the conversation by saying I was counting up today, and I've served on council with over 53 different councillors, going back to my early days in Burford Township. And actually, one of them, I should have mentioned that. The first female councillor in Burford Township just celebrated her 99th birthday, Doris Givens. And so happy birthday, Doris. I think it's this week she celebrates her 99th birthday. And she was a very quiet lady, and she was a very competent lady. And very much the same thing can be said with the Joan and Shirley and Helen Mulligan and Diane Cooper, and really it's been a pleasure to serve with all 50 members of council. I served with David's father, Joe, and and John's father, Jack, and actually Warren and Harry Emmett. It's been a long time, but I wish Ron could have been here tonight because I wanted to tell him of all the 50 that I have served with. The one that stands out the most, and actually was my mentor, was Gord Gibson. As a matter of fact, Ron would be in the top 2 or 3, but certainly Gord and another counselor that served with Ron, Mabel Doherty, was another one of my mentors. But I'll tell you one thing that Ron and I can say over the time that I've served with him is politics aside and municipal government aside, we become good friends. And I think that is what's important in all that we do. If we can serve our time and conduct our business and be friends at the end of the day, I think that's what's important. And I hope all of you consider me a friend, and I know we all consider Ron a friend. So that having been said, I think we can move on to the final item of business under other business, and John has an issue with regard to postal service.
Yeah, on the weekend it came to my attention, 83 Brant Road, and that's Highway 24 between the Tim Hortons and Highway 99 on the west side. Been in the German family for 7 generations. George and Bev are there now. They're both in their 80s. They got a letter last week from Canada Post giving them 15 days to move their mailbox 200 yards up the road so that it can be beside another mailbox. 15 days from Canada Post to move their mailbox that's been there for 7 generations. That's at least 150 years since the beginning of rural mail delivery. Seeking a seconder, I'd like to make a motion that the mayor and clerk, or acting mayor, author a letter to Canada Post requesting that that move of that mailbox be rescinded. A copy of that letter be sent to Phil McColman. We've already talked to McColman's office, and Phil is aware of it, aware of the situation, and is doing everything he can. But I'd like this council to support that mailbox staying where it is. They wait for 7 generations to move it. Funny, they're citing a safety concern. It's funny that their union is on strike. A couple months ago, there was a union rep stood at that podium. I wish he was here tonight. He'd meet the real John Wheat.
Are you seconding that to see, okay, throwing all procedural rules aside here, we will table that motion. Are there any questions or comments? It's moved and seconded that the issue be taken up by the mayor, which would be the incoming mayor, and the staff to correspond with Canada Post with regard to the issue. Councillor Gatward.
Thank you. And perhaps in that letter, we could suggest that the other mailbox be moved beside the Germans' mailbox, because I think they like to put them together for the convenience of the rural delivery person. So there's only one stop instead of 2. It is a busy road, but since it's been there 150 years, or whatever length of time Councillor Wheat has stated, I think it would be in order to have the other mailbox moved.
Okay, what we'll do is, before I call the question, I will telegraph to the incoming mayor-elect that he will be apprised of the issue, and it will be up to him to work with staff to do that if this motion passes. And I think he is nodding his head that he will certainly take that issue up. All those in favor? Motion's carried.
So
No.
are we adding on what Councillor Gatward had said?
No, the motion is that
Thank
the incoming mayor and the work with staff to correspond with Canada Post regarding the issue,
That one mailbox, that's it.
that issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, because that's the only people I've talked to is the Germans, not the people up the hill.
Okay. Now, that concludes that item of business. Is there any other new business or other business to come before the council before we move on to bylaws? Councillor Cardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to make council aware today. I watch business fairly closely in the province, and today there was an announcement in London that the MP and the MPP of that area were there with the Premier, and they're going to break ground for a $600 million poultry processing facility in London. The province is giving $34 million. The feds are giving 28, It's going to create approximately 1,600 jobs. They're going to close 3 smaller facilities in I believe, near Fort Erie down that way. And those people have an opportunity to come here, but it will create another 1,000 positions in the London area. So it just goes to show you there is still growth in our province, especially in Southern Ontario. Please keep your eyes open for things like this. We all have opportunities to look at stuff like this and bring them to the county for projects. And it would also help Allison out, because I'm sure she's always out there looking for things as well. So thank you.
Okay, let's proceed to deal with the bylaws. Anybody have the bylaws?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I have bylaws. First reading, it's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Simons, that the following bylaws be now read a first time. Bylaw number 148-18 through to bylaw number 158-18.
It's been moved and seconded. First reading. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Proceed.
It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Simons, that the following bylaws be now read a second time and all clauses and preambles be adopted, being bylaw number 148-18 through to bylaw 158-18.
You have copies of the bylaws. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Second reading. Proceed.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Simons. The following bylaws be now read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Bylaw number 148-18 through to bylaw number 158-18 to confirm the proceedings of council.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. And that concludes the evening's agenda. Our next meeting is our inaugural meeting, and that would be on December 3rd, and we're looking forward to that. And having said that, I will declare the meeting adjourned, but don't go away because Rick Leach wanted to say something. And now is his opportunity.